As you have seen since the beginning of the operation, we have always announced to the media every movement, every activities that the Army was about to conduct.
Both Canadian pilots and aircraft returned safely to Qatar, and they did not encounter hostile fire.
C'est la situation qu'on connaît actuellement. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé exactement? Comment ça se fait qu'ils sont venus vers nous alors qu'ils auraient dû traverser la route?
This is the information age. As individuals, we are constantly inundated with information. It has been estimated that each of us is subjected to over 6,000 messages a day, and these are messages we must react to. What does this mean to the communicator?
Good afternoon, Super City.
We in the Department of National Defense have to communicate effectively to increase our visibility locally, nationally, and internationally.
This is a military operation.
That's the challenge. The expertise in communications lies with the Office of the Director General Public Affairs, an organization of some 70 public affairs officers and 50 support staff. The public affairs activity at National Defense Headquarters in Ottawa is paralleled in 8 regional offices across the country and in Europe, and to an increasing extent at the Command Public Affairs offices. Located at each of the major commands, Command Public Affairs officers are more concerned with their particular service, whether it's air, land, or sea. The Public Affairs staff at National Defense Headquarters provides advice, assistance, and support to the regions and commands as necessary. The Director General Public Affairs organization consists of 4 specialized areas: strategy, operations, production, and support and training.
Our main function at the Directorate of Communications, Policy, Evaluation and Plans is developing communication strategies.
Research into the public environment is also conducted by this directorate. Public opinion surveys are conducted on behalf of the Department of National Defense to gain insight into the attitudes and perceptions of the Canadian public. Besides developing plans and strategies, our communications activities are also evaluated here. We determine the effectiveness of our exhibits and displays program, for example, and the success of our other communications initiatives. Memoranda to Cabinet are documents submitted for discussion by ministers of the federal government.
These were decisions made by military leadership for the safety and security of Canadian men and women.
The communication strategies and memoranda dealing with defense matters are developed by our communication strategists.
They could do that work in cooperation.
It's in the Public Affairs Operations Directorate that we take this communication strategies and actually implement them and build our plans accordingly.
This is particularly evident when a major operation unfolds or during a crisis of some kind. Public Affairs takes an active role in the crisis action team structure, both at National Defense Headquarters and on site.
We will hold a media briefing here.
This is where we get our information, and this is where we contribute our portion of the overall planning with respect to the public affairs elements of that particular issue.
The Operations Directorate, in turn, ensures the Minister and the Associate Minister's offices are advised of the communications aspects of the latest events and plans relating to the department.
It's obvious that in Canada our bases are very numerous and
as the official spokespersons for DND and the Canadian Forces, both ministers have to be able to respond publicly on a day-to-day basis in the House of Commons and in their travels across the country on the dynamics of their department. During the implementation of communications plans, the Media Liaison Office is the media's first point of contact in getting answers to their questions, a time-consuming activity. One of the aspects of public affairs operations which does not have a great deal of visibility within the Canadian Forces is the Exhibitions and Displays program. Traveling in excess of 80,000 kilometers across the country throughout the year, these exhibits and displays visit small towns and fairs and places away from military installations. These visits help the Canadian Forces maintain a reasonably high profile in these smaller communities across Canada, beyond the urban areas that normally see a fair amount of Canadian Forces activity.
In the Production Directorate, we provide print information for the media, as well as internal information for all the Canadian Forces. We also provide public affairs audiovisual support.
Familiar to all of us is the Sentinel magazine, which reaches all members of the regular force, the reserve forces, and cadets. Published by the Production Directorate, this color magazine is full of stories covering the spectrum of Canadian Forces activities. The Sentinel staff also produces Clip Sheet, which provides stories to base newspapers on a weekly basis. The newspaper editors can then use them for the national overlay in their respective papers. Another of the department's publications that is well known is the Defense Series.
The Defense Series is an annual product put out by our Directorate. It is an annual resume of the Canadian Forces activity, which is a handy item for members of the media, for the public, and for the forces themselves.
The print news section produces news releases, backgrounders, and other informational material primarily aimed at the media. When the staff officer is assigned a news release, the experts in that subject area are consulted and interviewed before the news release is created in draft form. It then goes through a set series of sign-offs, so that once it reaches the final approval, which is at the ministerial level, all perspectives are included, and we have a complete document. The audiovisual section produces a full range of videos, from information packages a few minutes long to full-length feature films. This helps get the department's messages out to the people of Canada. Canadian television news is also monitored on a 24-hour-a-day basis, so that a resume of the news events relating to defense can be published first thing in the morning. The still photography section maintains a healthy supply of photographs that can be used by the media on any subject area. They have the capability to go out and photograph any event or story that may be required.
Our basic mandate in the training section here in public affairs is to provide public affairs training for all individuals engaged in the public affairs process throughout the Canadian Forces.
Professional, as well as base and unit public affairs officers, receive their initial training on the annual Defense Public Affairs course. Civilians from industry have also attended this 2-week course, which covers all aspects of public affairs. Media awareness training is a main feature of the training program. Officers and senior personnel receive instruction on how to deal with the media, to talk on camera, and to appear in television interviews.
Establish our position here. We're trying to do everything we can.
These sessions may be one-on-one or conducted at small seminars throughout the country. Increasing public affairs awareness for members of the Canadian Forces has taken on greater importance in recent years. The training staff appears at both the Canadian Forces Staff School and Staff College in Toronto and at the Canadian Land Forces Command and Staff College in Kingston. Some lecture material is provided on the media, who they are and how to deal with them. And then practical exercises are conducted with the classes themselves.
The National Defence Speakers Bureau activities are also coordinated by the Director General of Public Affairs. Here, speakers appear in various organizations across Canada and speak on behalf of the Canadian Forces.
Since the mid-80s, the Department and the Forces have been committed to an assertive public communications program. Although not everyone has carte blanche to speak publicly on behalf of the Department, we can publicly talk about our own areas of expertise and knowledge, about ourselves, and the things we do best for the community and our society. Our collective challenge, then, is to ensure that Canadians are better informed about their forces. For as we have learned from our public opinion polling, the more aware they are, the more Canadians will come to appreciate and support our continued service to this country.